All right, welcome back to this 2022 W990. I'm going to show you what I've been working on, getting this thing made into a log truck. So I was going to update you a little bit. We pulled the fuel tank off and the saddles or the brackets for the tank. I'm in the process. I got some 4x3 angle here, so it's going to be the head rack mount. So I made these on both sides, outside angle, and I'm going to end up we'll have bolt holes through the top here, like 4 of them, to hold my head rack down. So I just got these drilled. I had to make some I got some 2-inch 3/8 steel, so this will go in behind this bracket, behind the fuel tank bracket. This will go in here to space this out. And then I had to make some other strips here to space the rear fuel tank's bracket out. That way the whole thing's moved out 3/8, so it's not crooked. Slow going. The other side there is what I'm working on now. We are got to make 2 more of these spacers to go in between the def tank and the frame rail. See how there's a gap here, so I'll make 2 more spacers, so this will go in there, and then when it's bolted up it'll take up the room. So I got to do that, and then we notched this piece out here pretty good so that way the def tank's still serviceable. We can get to these bolts, we can get to the top of this and all this fitting, so that way it's just moved out 3/8 of an inch basically. But other than that, it'll be, you know, factory. So what we're gonna do is put some plate on the top here to bolt this down, the head rack down. So we'll put flat plate here, and then we'll stand the head rack, and we'll weld the head rack to that, and we'll bolt the plate down. So I'll show you that later on, but that's where I'm at so far. So I'm going to get to work, make a couple more of these, and then I'll probably fill you in.
I'm good here. I'm good here.
So the head rack's just tacked down to my plates here that are on the frame. So the next step is to put, there's a support, pieces of metal that go here to support. So I'm going to get those put on there. I ran the angle iron. It's a little long, but up front, but I didn't want to drill a hole. So I just went ahead and ran it a little bit longer so I could utilize the holes. So I utilized all the holes that were already in the frame, and only put 3 bolts in this side because it's notched out. And like I say, this is all tacked, so I'm just kind of in the process of working on getting the angle irons or the head rack welded up. All right, quick update here. So I yesterday got these pieces painted. There's one here, one on my tire there for the driver's side, and then my little spacers to space out the fuel tank and the def tank. So what I'm going to do today is put them all, they're going to go here, these angle irons. So we're going to get these put on today for the final time. Okay, check this out. So I spent all day putting these angles on both sides everything's permanent now. This is on there for the last time. So when the head rack gets painted, it's over here, it's all welded up. So I need to sandblast and paint this, and then when that's painted, it'll be ready to go onto these angles. I got to come back later. I'm going to get some of this white paint in a aerosol can. I'm going to come back and paint these bolt heads there. And then on the other side is the same way. Finally got the fuel tank back on. Everything's back on, should be for good, barring some strange circumstance. But yeah, I got this angle on. I'll touch these up here. Once I get the head rack on, I'm going to secure these fuel lines better. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with them yet, but once the head rack gets on here, we'll have a better idea. So like I say, fuel tank's back on, and I turned all the bolts around because they put the truck together, all the nuts are on the outside, so I think it looks better with the head of the bolt. So went ahead and turned them around, and like I said, I just got to touch up paint on that. Yeah, so fuel's in it. Well, about 15 gallons. So she's back running. Yeah, so that's it for the end of the day here. The next thing I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build these outside angles that go back here for my bunk. So they're gonna run about from this rear axle shock, and then they're going to go up to about this airbag, about in there. So I'm going to work on that in the next few days. All right, so here's the metal I'm going to work with. So I'm just going to measure this out, 5 foot. All right, here we go. I'll just cut it with my plasma and we'll leave the line, and then I'll grind back to it. Okay, we're ready to cut. So I'm going to cut that real quick with the plasma. All right, well that's that. Since I'm not a very good plasma cutter, I'm gonna have to get the grinder, clean up these edges. Okay, so I got these angles cut, and I'm working on the right side right now. So what I did was I just took, this is gonna be the part for the left side, and then this is a scrap piece. Well, not a scrap piece, but just an extra piece. And I put them across the frame rails, both sides, and then they're clamped down. That way I'll know top of my rail. So I put these two across, and then I took the piece that I'm gonna make and clamped it to the bottom. So that way we're flush with the top, or even with the top. And then now the next step is take my transfer punch, and there's 5 holes, there's 6 holes here that I can mark. I don't have any holes forward of that, so I'm gonna have to drill both the angle and the frame. All right, I'm gonna mark these with this transfer punch. I'll see if you can stay up here. But yeah, the transfer punch has this, it's a 5/8 punch, and maybe I'll put you over here. And that's, of course, that airline has got to be in the way. That should be the center of that one. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get to all these, to say the truth. But that one, I don't know. I'm gonna have to come up with a plan here to mark these. Okay, so we're back on this outside angle. These here are the holes that I was able to center punch when I had this metal resting up against the frame. I used my transfer punch. So that's those. Now, there's no holes on the front of it here. So what I did was went through, and on the center here, these holes are going to be on the lower part of the metal. So I'm going to put them back in line with these other holes. So we moved them up. So I made a straight line over here on my front part of the metal. So I made a straight line, and then I've been screwing around here trying to get the spacing. I wanted it even, but there's a couple welded studs on the inside of the frame, so I wasn't able to make it perfectly even. So I came 3 inches in from the end, and then I went 8 inches, 7, 7, and then 5 to the other bolt. So I think that's going to work. So I'm going to drill 4 holes here, and I'll have to drill 4 holes in the frame. So next process, I'll be drilling this, and then we will be able to put it up to the left side piece and mark and drill all those holes. And then I'll probably round the corners here on the piece that goes to the frame. I'll probably round those edges, look a little nicer, and won't bang your finger, I think, when you're washing. So I'll round those, and then once these are drilled, I'll bolt them back up here, and then I can mark the frame, the holes to mark and drill the frame. So all right, that's what I'm going to do now, is get the mag drill out and get these pieces drilled. Okay, there's the mag drill. So come over here and grab these cutters, and I'll use this one here, 11/16. And then you just put this in the shank here, and then there's 2 set screws that you line these flats up on pretty easy. Okay, just take and snug these down, and then you're good to drill. Okay, and then we'll put some coolant in the bottle, and I'll get this set up and we'll start drilling. All right, so there's a center punch there, mark, and then these cutters have a little center punch to them. So you just kind of line that up to its center, turn on your magnet. So we're ready to drill. We'll turn the coolant on, and then we'll drill a hole. I've been sticking like a trash can under it because it does kind of make a mess. The coolant and stuff goes everywhere, so I try to capture most of it in there. So all right, we'll give this a try, see what happens. There she goes. All right, all the holes are drilled. Looks pretty good. Now we'll have to transfer them to the other piece that goes on the other side. All right, so we got the left side ones on the bottom, right side's on the top that's drilled. And we'll clamp these together, transfer all these holes into the other one. That's it. Okay, so I got all those holes center punched on this piece here that's going to be the left side. So I'm going to go ahead and drill that out, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so these angles are all drilled. We got them on the frame rail. We just got to mark these 4 holes here up on the front edge. So I got a piece of metal running across to keep it flush with the top edge. So next I'll have to take the tires off so I can get in there and center punch these, and then I'll take the angles off and drill the holes, and then we'll put them back on. Okay, well, so we got I've got these 4 holes drilled up here on the front of these. So these are secure on the truck for now, just temporary. I didn't put all the bolts in. But yeah, they're on there. So now I can measure my plate. I'm going to get a 3/8 piece of flat plate to put across here, and then we're going to mount the truck bunk to that, the scales and all that good stuff. I'm going to throw these tires and wheels back on just in case I need to move it. All right, so the angles are on, and I center punched, I think there's 10 holes along here, and this matches a 5th wheel plate that I have. So I'm gonna drill those, utilize the holes to hold the 5th wheel, some of them to hold down my bunk. I don't know that I'll ever put the 5th wheel on, but I'm gonna have it to where it'll fit. All right, so I used the mag drill to got all the holes drilled in my outside angle. So next we're going to put our flat plate on. I drilled a hole in the center so you can pick it up. We're going to put that plate on here, and then we're going to mark some holes in that plate so we can drill those and secure it to this angle. Okay, so here's my flat plate. I set this on with the forklift, and I marked the holes that I have under here. I marked just a couple. I marked there's 2 here. I marked 2 here and 1 here. And I'm going to wait till I get the bunk on. I'm going to put, I think, 1 more hole here, but I want to make sure it won't interfere with anything before I drill it out. So I got those marked. So I'm going to go ahead and drill this plate out, and then I'm going to bring it back and set it on here and tighten it down, or just temporarily tighten it down. Then the next step will be getting the load cells, the scales set on here, and the bunk. We'll get that squared up and evened up, and then I'll start tack welding them. Yeah, it's temporarily bolted down, so the next step, it's going to be setting the bunk on there and tack welding the scales down. And yeah, we're moving right along. All right, so we're getting ready to put the scales on, but first I ran this plate all the way across. I've never run that before. Usually I just put like a strip that's as wide as from here to here, 6 or 7 inches, whatever it is. I'll put a strip down and weld the scales too. But this time I decided to put a full plate. I was kind of unsure about doing that because it's a lot of extra weight for maybe no good reason. But I was talking to some people. They suggested it because it might help keep the frame nice and stiff or take some of the stress out. And then I'm going to run a deck plate from my chain box, what goes in about here. So I'll run a full deck plate, and I'll make it end right at the front of this plate, and that way I won't have any gaps. So I can walk from my deck plate. I could even step on this plate to clean my bunks. And so that's what I'm going to do. I decided to do it that way this time, and we'll give it a shot, and if it doesn't work, we'll change it on the next truck. All right, we're going to go ahead and put the scales on, get them all situated. These are SI, I think they're Vichy brand, but they're an SI. They're like a 26-inch load cell. So they have these blocks and bolts, and you weld these to the plate, and then you bolt down your load cell. So it goes something like this. I put my bunk 8 inches ahead of center. That's what I always ran it, so that's what I'm going to do with this. And these here are load cells. These are some old ones that I have that I just use for mocking up everything. I don't like to use the new ones and then do all the welding with the new ones. So I just use these old ones, and they go on here like so. And these bolts are what hold them down. So we'll get these bolted together. And this one don't want to screw in very good. Try a different bolt. There we go. A little better. But yeah, so we'll get this. Got it kind of halfway measured out. And then get these sitting on here, and then we'll go get the bunk and put the bunk on. That must be a bad bolt or something. Yeah. I think I'll go wire wheel this one. I don't see anything wrong with it, but got the truck bunk set on there. Or we screwed around with it trying to get it centered and lined up, and I think it's as good as she's gonna get. So we'll go ahead and get the welder out here, and then tack weld these blocks here, these 4 blocks. There's one on each corner, so we'll tack weld these. Then I'll pull this bunk off and pull the plate back off, and then go to town and weld the heck out of these things. Okay, well, the bunk's tack welded down. So now I just got to tear it all back apart and weld these 4 blocks up for good. So I'm going to go ahead and take the bunk back off, take that plate off, and I'll weld it up there in the shop. All right, well, there's my plate for my bunk. I got all 4 of these scale pad mounts are all welded down. So I'm probably going to cut either a circle in here to try to shed a little bit of weight. I might try to cut some letters in it. I was thinking about doing like W990 or something, but I'll see if I can cut it myself, or maybe try to find somebody, because I'm not too good at it and I want it to look good, so we'll go from there. But anyway, these are welded, these are finished. So that plate, it's ready for sandblast and paint. And then same thing over here. So the truck bunk's ready to go. I just got to go ahead and pull these back off for the final time and get them painted, and then they can you know, everything can go back on. So it's gaining progress. Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for this video on this 2022 W990. Got the head rack and the truck bunk. They're not installed yet, but everything's done. We got everything welded together. So I'll work on doing some sandblasting and painting. There's still lots to do on this truck. So like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video right now because I believe it's getting pretty long. But anyway, let me know what you think of this truck and all the work I've been doing. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.